Hey guys, it's James here at Artis Opus and welcome to today's video. I do hope that you're all keeping safe and well with everything that's going on in the world. This video is all about brush care and maintenance, and it's a bit of an update from the last one which I did. We've had loads of questions of recent about how to look after your brushes, the best practices, things to do, things not to do. So I wanted to do a real step-by-step from the ground up process in one video again for you guys. On top of that as well, we're super proud to finally be able to release to you guys and show you two brand new products that are specifically designed and tailored for the cleaning process. The first of which is our brand new paint purger in this lovely purple or lilac kind of colour, designed to break down those stubborn materials which build up in your brush heads. We've all been there where we've left paintbrushes with paint in them overnight by accident or a wash or something. This will help with that and will get those stubborn materials broken down and removed from those brush heads. So that's our brand new paint purger. The second of the two new products is our brush cleanser, and this is for the end of the process and designed again and formulated specifically for restoring, conditioning and really making those super sharp points you'd expect from us here at Artis Opus last even longer. So that's the two new products which we're going to be demonstrating in this video and going through the whole process once again of cleaning brushes, restoring them and looking after them. We're back in a sec to get right into it. So first I wanted to run through some of the key things you're going to need for cleaning your brushes and following this video through or going through the process once you've watched the video all the way through. We're first going to need obviously some paint brushes, and I've chosen a random selection from just some that I've been using for different projects and things. A couple of different brush soaps, and you need one, so you can either have like the small one from an SD or M set, or we've got our 10mm one here which is the larger one. You've got different smells, but other than that the soap is exactly the same. Our brand new paint purger and brush cleanser, which we'll talk about independently later in the video, and then I've got two pots of clean water. It's really good to use a different pot of water when you're cleaning your brushes whilst you're painting. So metallics would have their own independent glass or jug or whatever of clean water for cleaning metallic paint off, and then you've got your one for your normal colours, so reds, blues, greens, whatever the case may be. The other thing I would suggest that you do is actually have a third pot, and the reason for that is you can get the majority of the paint particles off in the respective pot, and then do a final rinse in the third pot, just so it decants even more and dilutes down even more what's in the brush head. It's just something that I personally do, but obviously if you just run a two-pot system, that's perfectly fine. All these brushes will have been used for a whole variation of different things. They've not all been used for the same process. So some have been used for blocking in, some may be used for edge highlighting, some have been used for dry brushing, some for glazing, some for sort of blending of some sort, all those different things. So they've all had different uses. As a result of those different uses, there's different things that can potentially happen or not happen to the brush head with regards to paint being left in, paint going in the ferrule, which is a big no-no. And we're all human, we all do it. You know, I still do it to this day. So don't worry about that, but it's just dealing with those issues as and when they arise. So just picking up the first brush, as we can see, the brush head looks really nice, got a sharp point on it, but you can see there's a little bit of darkness just in the ferrule. And for those of you who aren't aware what the ferrule is, it's just this part here where the hair joins to the metal. Obviously we have the crimp, which is this part where the metal ferrule, which is this bit, is crimped to the handle, and then we have obviously the ferrule here, which is where that tightens around the head of the brush. So just a little bit of theory regarding brush heads and things. So all our hair is compacted, and where the bottoms of my hands are is where the metallic part of the ferrule is. That ferrule puts pressure on the head and causes the spring, which helps the hair stay in this lovely kind of teardrop kind of shape to the point. Okay, so when we get water permeate and go into the ferrule in between the hairs here, the hair that's all inside the ferrule can mat together. At the moment, when they're new and when brushes don't have water inside the ferrule, the hairs are all loose but they're compacted. As soon as they get water in there or paint dries in there, it causes them to tighten and constrict and mat together, which could cause potential problems with hairs splaying, the odd hair sticking out, all those kind of initial problems that you may well see. It happens. So it's important to not get paint in the ferrule so that it can reduce and minimise that eventuality or possibility of the hair matting within the actual metallic part of the brush that you can't access. So going back to our set of brushes, as I mentioned, we've got a nice wide variety of brushes here. I do advise that you start looking at your brushes and going, right, what potentially is wrong with this one? What do I need to do here? Does it need to have the ferrule looked at? Do I need to clean around the ferrule? Do I need to inspect the brush head to see? Now you can see this is has got no little particles of paint, or nodules as I call them, stuck to the hairs. It's a very clean head, other than the slight darkening around the ferrule, which could potentially mean that there's some paint or material or dirt, for example, just stuck there. The head has got no sort of like little nodules of paint on it. If we have a look through some of these brushes, if we just have a look here on this one, for example, if I just get this to focus, you will see that as I rotate it, you will see that it's got little dark spots on the brush head. You can see there, and that is dried paint that is stuck to the individual hairs in the brush head. That can cause problems, for example, hairs snapping. It causes the hairs to go weak and they can snap if you don't clear those out. So removing those sort of dry compacted nodules of paint that are on the hairs is quite important. As you can see, there's a bit of darkness around the ferrule there as well, so we could potentially have a bit of a build up of paint there as well. It's super important to diagnose and assess your brushes, guys. It's just as important as using them, it's just as important as cleaning them, it's just as important as anything. So do have a look through your brushes. You can see here how the ferrule looks on a new brush. So the hair colour should go all the way to the ferrule. There shouldn't be any darkening or anything like that. Now the golden rule is with using brushes is that you should not get paint anywhere sort of further than here on the brush, whatever size you're using. So even if you're on this small 000 or 00 here, do not get paint anywhere near that ferrule. So you should be trying to essentially get your paint only up to about here on the brush. All right, you don't want to be getting paint further than that. I say 2/3. Really, 2/3 on the brush is what you're trying to use when you're using the brush. But obviously, we're all human. It happens. We use brushes and without thinking sometimes, and it happens. But if you do get paint in the ferrule, get it out as quick as possible and just clean it as quick as possible. And obviously, with this Series D brush that we've got here, you can see there's loads of paint. But as we open it, you can see it's quite clean on the inside and it just needs a bit of a clean. So assess your brushes. It's really important. Allows you to diagnose and see what needs to be done to the brushes. So that's the first thing you do after getting all your bits together. So the first step of cleaning your brushes after you've sort of gone through and sort of worked out what it is that's wrong potentially with your brushes is to then remove those stubborn areas of paint that are in the brush heads. Now, if you've just finished the session, then of course you can use water just to get that. But if it's been dried in there for quite some sizable time, you're going to want something a bit stronger just to remove that, which is why we've created a brand new paint purger, as you can see here. Now, it's got this lovely lilac purpley colour, and that's purely so that it is very distinguishable from our brush cleanser, which is obviously nice and clear. This is brilliant for removing stubborn paint. It's great for just subtly sort of softening and removing those stubborn areas of paint that are in the brush heads, as I mentioned. All I've done here is just decant a little bit into this shot glass rather than sort of contaminating it by putting loads of brushes in there. If I'm doing a long cleaning session, the best thing I'd advise is just to literally decant some out and then use this for all of your cleaning and just trying to remove as much as possible. Get a first brush, and all we're going to do is just introduce that into the liquid, and I'm going to move in a lateral motion. I'm not going to be going stabbing motion because I don't want to be forcing the bristles against the way they normally flow. It can cause obviously issues if you do that, and all I'm doing, as I said, is just moving it in this liquid, and you can work it into the ferrule as well a little bit, so you can just try and soften any paint that does build up in that ferrule. This will get messy and dirty after a while. This liquid that's in the shot glass, or this paint purger that's in the shot glass, it will get a little bit cloudy just as it decides to remove the stubborn bits of paint. And the reason why I'm twisting the brush while I'm using it is just so that the little bit of friction from the glass itself is actually just helping to soften and smooth off those paint nodules that are built up on the hair follicles, as I mentioned. So that's that. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is just, after I've done a nice sort of cleaning session in the paint purger, I'm going to give it a really good rinse. And I do mean a really good rinse, because we just don't want to leave any paint purger in that. And look, I'm just drawing back on this piece of kitchen towel here, and as you can see, there's loads of little bits. If I just get that to focus, there's loads of little bits that are coming off the brush. So I'm just going to check my ferrule, because another little tip I'll give you is, and I wouldn't do this aggressively, I'd do it quite soft, is just in between like your thumb and your index finger, I just try and work out any bits like this, because it will soften them off the bristles and it will just help to just pull off any of those bits. There's a couple of little bits coming off there. Now for your ferrule, you just use your thumb nail or something a little bit that sticks out to just work around that ferrule, okay, and try and move out any of those bits. Now this brush is quite old, as I mentioned, and has been used for lots of blocking in. Alright, and all I'm doing here is just being really gentle with the ferrule, and I'm not doing this too hard. just to try and move any of those bits that are stuck in the ferrule. Alright, okay, and they are gradually coming out. Again, give it a good rinse. And you can repeat that process a few times, but as I said, I do advise that you try your absolute utmost to repeat this maybe 2 or 3 times, just to get the majority of the stubborn amounts of paint out of that area. With Series D, just the process, obviously, all I've done is dampen this before, so it's got a little bit of dampen. You can see this had metallics in it before. You can see that metallic sheen that it's got. All I'm going to do in this is I'm literally just going to introduce the brush into this and give it a little bit of a spin round. All right, okay, and you can see already that there are little patches, or it's removing quite a lot of that metallic pigmentation is coming out of the brush already. All right, I'm just working it in a bit of a circular motion, just literally working it into the bristles. The objective is to soften for the cleaning process. It's to try and get the worst out of the brushes. All right, okay. The whole process is what helps to make this clean, all right, as clean as possible. But this paint purger is great for just softening paints and just helping to get the excess out of the brush. And you can see remove quite a lot, and typically metallics are quite stubborn to get out of here, so it shows you a good example of what this paint purger is capable of. Again, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to rinse this brush off really well, okay, in this water. And again, you can repeat that paint purging process quite a few times if you like, but always advise that you rinse afterwards thoroughly, because you don't want to leave something that's designed to soften paint in the bristles. So again, I'm just going to use this paper towel just to take the excess off. We're going to soap it anyway, so fear not if it doesn't need to be bone dry. Once that's been done and you've thoroughly rinsed your brushes of the paint purger, we're now going to move on to the soaping section of the brushes. I've got my 4 brushes that I've been working on here. So we've got obviously this first one that's been doing a lot of work. And what I'm going to do is just dampen it, because I wiped off quite a lot of the water before. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this is our 10ml brush soap. It's bergamot. The smell, so it's really lovely. I've dampened that brush a little bit. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to work the brush backwards in motion, and I'm twisting as I do this, and I'm trying to collect a decent amount. And you can move it from side to side as well if you wish, but just never move in this motion, because you don't want to force the bristles against themselves. It's really important that you don't do that. So again, as you can see, you're building up a nice lather in between all the hair. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit more water just because I want to pick up quite a lot of soap on this brush. So once I've done that, I normally use the palm of my hand, or the back of my hand, or my thumb, for example. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to it, and all I'm going to do is work that in my palm, and I'm going to move it in a bit of a backwards and sort of twisting motion, as you can see, and you can see it's built up a nice lather. Alright, and I'm just drawing that back and helping that to clean the bristles as best as physically possible. Again, I'm using like a crevice in my hand to keep the point formed, which is also quite nice. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And then this is helping to just reform those bristles and get them used to being pulled in that direction with something that also cleans them at the same time, which is quite nice. Now, with this soap, if you wish, you can leave this in overnight and then crack the head back open, all right, if you wish. And for longer cleaning sessions, I'd probably advise that. Alright, so you could do this and put it to a nice point, leave this in overnight like this, and then in the morning come back and then crack the head back open, wet it, reform it into a point, and then follow the end part of this section. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rinse this off now, because I've cleaned it with the brush soap. If you do see any little particles or things you still want to try and work out with between the finger and thumb, then feel free to, and you can repeat this soaping exercise a few times if you need to. Just going to rinse this now in water. I'm just going to draw back. Whenever you're drawing back on a paper towel, as always, make sure that you pull back in a motion that helps the brush head reform into that super sharp point, which is what we want. With your Series D, exactly the same. I'm going to wet it as I have, and then I'm going to introduce that into the soap, and I'm going to just twist that round and work that into the bristles as much as possible. And you can see here it's actually taking out quite a lot of material. That softener from our purger has really worked, really softened that hair. And again, on the palm of your hand, do a really nice lather, really work that into the bristles as much as possible, and you can see it's starting to remove quite a substantial amount of material from the brush head, which is quite good. So I'm just going to wipe the excess off on the paper towel, really work that into the bristles, and you can see here all the paint that's been softened by that paint purger is starting to come out of the brush. All right, and again, you can do this a few times if you feel like you need to. All right, give it a good rinse, and then just draw back, and you can give it a bit of a twist as well to just help refine and shape that point and that head on your Series D brush. And you can see it's a lot cleaner than it was before, which is good. So we've now completely done the paint purging process on both the brushes. We've soaked each of them and now we've set them back into nice points. All right, which is, or as points as you can get with a Series D, but we set them back into nice points. Don't worry about any little bits in here. If you're a bit, really want to clean this off, you can take those little bits out. It's not a problem in the slightest. And that is the soaping process and how to reform the heads when you're doing the soaping process. So, last thing is this brand new brush cleanser which we've created, and I promise you guys are going to fall in love with it, not only for its smell but for how well it conditions your brushes. Really cool product. Again, it's, as you can see, it's nice and clear here, so it's a great liquid, and again very distinguishable between the two, the lilac or purple paint purger, and then we've obviously got our lovely brush cleanser here on the right. So start with Series S. Really simple. All we're going to do is, like I said, I've got a few here, is we're just literally going to get the Series S brush and we're just going to vertically put that into the cleanser, and all we're going to do is just draw back on the side of the jar and just form that into a lovely point, and you can just take the excess off. You really just, there's a lot of cleanser just in this brush head here, so all we're doing is just putting it to a nice point on that glass jar, so you've got that nice point on the brush. We're just going to leave that flat on the table. Now if you wish and you do store your brushes point down, then of course you can do it that way, but going back to the beginning part of the video where I mentioned about liquid permeating into the ferrule, causing the hair inside to potentially mat, we don't want that, so we never store our brushes vertical. It's really bad if you do, which is why a lot of our sets, or all of our sets should I say, have got the brushes laying down flat. So just leave it overnight, and in the morning it will have evaporated out and your brush will be lovely and set into place. With Series D, very much the same. We're just going to get our cleanser, and all we're going to do is we're just going to take the brush and just dip that in, okay, and then on the side of the jar we're just going to draw that back, forming a nice point on the brush. That's all we're going to do, is just work that round so that it's formed a kind of stubbier brush. Now I went back in and cleaned this a few more times because that metallic was a little bit stubborn, and obviously with the Series D technique, as you're working you do take paint off the brush between your sort of texture palette and also the brush itself, but all you'll do with this now is just leave that overnight to just evaporate and set into place, and then when you come back in the morning, the Series D brush, you'll break it open or crack it open with your thumb and it will poof into a lovely open brush head, which is just what you'd expect, very much like another one like this, as you can see here. So that's exactly how it will go. All right, so that's the full process of sort of working out exactly what the problems are with brushes, paint purging them, soaping them, and then conditioning them afterwards, or cleansing them, whichever you wish to call it. There we have it, a full updated cleaning and maintenance video for your brushes. I do hope you liked it ever so much. It's a topic very close to my heart and that I am super passionate about, and I hope that it's been insightful, whether you've taken away a small portion of it or it's been completely new to you and you've never really done a full clean of your brushes. It's super important. I want you and we want you to look after your brushes so that they endure and that you can pick them up with confidence when it comes to approaching your miniatures. If you've got any comments or things, please put them in the comments of this video. It'd be really nice to talk to you guys and hear your feedback and thoughts. If you've got anything that you specifically do, then please feel free to put that in there as well, because it's always beneficial for anybody else that's watching the video. So from all the Artis Opus team and myself, huge thank you for watching the video. It really means a lot to us. I do hope specifically you liked as well the two brand new products which we have for you guys, which is the brush cleanser and also the purple paint purger, which is really cool. So I do hope you like these. These are available on our store, so feel free to go and check those out. As ever, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe. It really helps us out a lot and we do appreciate it. And if you do hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when new videos do go up on the channel. Equally, join us on Instagram, join us on Twitter, and join us on Facebook. We've got accounts on all those platforms, and you can also tag us and share what you're doing with our brushes and our products on those platforms as well. It's always good to see that. Huge thank you from myself and all the team here for watching the video, and I hope it's been very helpful. See you on the next one.